Here are some embarrassing social encounters that you can laugh at me for. You might experience some really bad secondhand embarrassment. You have been warned. This first story is with my PE coach slash health teacher. He was really chill and funny, and I liked being a part of his class. One weekend, me and my friends were walking to a local festival. There's this tunnel that we had to walk through to get there, and I saw my health teacher walking out of said tunnel with his 3 kids right as we were about to walk in. Instinctively, I was like, "Hi, coach." And then he saw me and say, "Hey Alicia, how are you?" And I said, "Good." And we continued walking our separate ways. I could have just left it there and it would have been a fine and a pretty normal social interaction, but no, I decided to panic for some reason about the fact that I'd seen the teacher outside of school. Me and my friends walked into the tunnel and I was freaking out and said, "Oh no, that was so awkward," quite loudly. To make matters worse, I forgot we were in a tunnel. What I said echoed super loudly as well, and then I went into a spiral of even more shame because I knew he had definitely heard me say that. The next day, my health teacher jokingly said, "Alicia, you did not seem very happy to see me yesterday." And I was like, "No, I'm so sorry, I did not mean to say that." I literally made the situation 1,000 times worse and more awkward than it initially was. Great. Then, a couple months later, I had another awkward encounter with the same teacher. I had just gotten out of a brutal chemistry test that cooked the heck out of me, and I was in complete and utter shock because of how badly I failed. I was walking to lunch completely out of it when I saw my health teacher in the hall. He was like, "Hi Alicia, how are you?" And instead of saying, "Good, how are you?" like a normal person would, I said, "I just bombed my chemistry test." And he was like, "Oh no, what was it on?" And I said, "I don't know, everything, because it was so bad I forgot what was on it." He said, "I'm sure you didn't do as bad as you think." And I said, "Yes, I did." Then I kept walking to lunch. It was about 10 minutes later when I realized how bad of a conversation that was. Why didn't I just say that I was fine like a normal person? Why did I randomly start ranting? Great, now he probably thinks I'm awkward and strange and an extreme pessimist that finds no bright side to anything. This next story is with 2 of my language arts teachers. So school ended and I went to my old language arts teacher, let's call him Mr. Godspeed's classroom, to talk to him. We were talking for a few minutes, and then my current language arts teacher, let's call him Mr. Grogu, walks in with a box of chocolate. He's not my current language arts teacher anymore, but during the time of this story he was. Sorry, that's a bit confusing. Anyway, Mr. Grogu saw me and said, "Hey," and then walked up to Mr. Godspeed and asked, "Do you want one of these? I got them for my birthday." Mr. Godspeed said, "Sure," and he took one. Mr. Grogu then turned to me and asked me, "Do you want one?" And I felt kinda bad and said, "But they're yours from your birthday." Duh, Captain Obvious. And then he said, "I know, that's why I'm offering them to you." And I said, "Yeah," and then I tried to choose one, but they were the fancy chocolates with a card with the descriptions, name, and picture for each one. And it was not helping my case of chronic indecisiveness. So I probably took a little long in trying to choose one. Eventually, I decided on a random one, blushed a little, and said thank you. I just found this whole situation really awkward because I made a big deal out of nothing. There was also this one time where I was at a concert with my friend. At the end of the concert, we headed over to the merch booth. It was pretty loud and crowded, so I couldn't really hear the lady at the counter that well. So when it was my turn to buy merch, I thought she said, "What's your name?" instead of "What can I get you?" And so I accidentally said my name. Then she was like, "What?" And then I realized that I messed up, blushed, and asked, "Wait, what did you say?" And she was like, "What can I get you?" And I was like, "Oh, sorry." And then I asked for what I wanted, paid, and got the heck out of there. Oh my gosh, I wanted to disappear. Finally, I was biking home from school one day and there was this kid walking in front of me. Let me explain the setting. To the left of the sidewalk, there was a massive bush, and to the right, the road. I caught up to the kid and said "excuse me," but bro was wearing headphones and did not hear. So instead, I tried to go around him by going to the left because I couldn't swerve into the road like that, but it went horribly wrong. There wasn't enough space between the kid and the bush. The bush got caught on my arm and left a huge gash while I got halfway buried in it and skidded to a stop, and the kid was just staring at me. I laughed awkwardly, said "oh shoot," got back on my bike, and kept biking. Literally crowned me the #1 expert of putting myself in awkward situations. The end. Thanks for watching.